Hello everybody and welcome to another live stream from the IELTS Grind. Hopefully you're joining us today because you're interested in writing. So let's talk about what we're going to do today to begin with. So what we're going to do is two things. Firstly, I'm going to go through, and we've got a fancy little PowerPoint today, and the skill I'm going to teach you today for IELTS writing is about sentence frames. So if you've never heard what a sentence frame is, we're going to find out today. We're going to concentrate on task 2 writing, but you can use sentence frames in task 1, and I will talk about that too. And the most important skill you'll learn today in today's lesson is how to find sentence frames yourself. This is what's going to help you improve your writing. And the other thing we'll do is, after this, we'll look at 2 essays that were submitted by students who watch the channel. Okay, so we'll come to that in a moment. So if you're joining us, so we've got Maria in chat already. Hello. Make sure that you join us live by clicking live. Say hello in the chat. I will be looking at it. And if at any point you find the video useful, don't forget, give us a like, because that does really help us. Also, if you're joining us for the first time, you can come to the website, the IELTSGrind.com, and if you click on live stream schedule, you can find when we're going live. It'll bring you to this page where you can see that Michael and I, we're based in Taiwan, in Taipei, so all times are based on Taipei, but you can see that today, Thursday, it's me, Phil, we're doing writing. But we've got tomorrow, I'll be doing mock speaking tests. So you can do a practice mock speaking test with a real native tutor. Michael is doing a group speaking class on Saturday. And on Sunday, we'll be streaming another full exam so you can practice the IELTS in real time. So this is a 3-hour exam that you can sit down and do at any time during the day. We keep it live for about 12 hours, so you can catch it anytime that you happen to be on. Okay, the other thing is, if you join our Discord server, this is where Michael does his group speaking classes, and you can join that quite easily just by, on our website, if you click Discord, it will take you through and you can create a free account. So this is a way for Discord where you can find people to talk to. So for example, Rupinder here wanted to talk to someone yesterday. If we build up this Discord channel together, you'll be able to find other students to practice with. This is what we made it for. Okay. So if you can hear me, let's double check. How is the volume? Have I been talking to myself this whole time? If you can hear me, say yes. Phil, let's get started. Let's do it. And we can start with our lesson about sentence frames. Aha, hello Lien. Yeah, good, you're here. So you can hear me? Just do a quick volume. Okay, so the volume's okay. So in that case, let's jump into the lesson and we'll talk about sentence frames. Okay. Right, so we said that we would talk about what a sentence frame is. We'll talk about some sentence frames that you can use for task 2. And most importantly, how to find sentence frames yourself. Okay. So first of all, what is a sentence frame? So this is kind of a fancy way to just say this, okay? So a sentence frame is a high-level sentence structure which you know how to adapt and change, but wouldn't know how to write fully without learning it first. So basically what a sentence frame is a sentence structure that you've learned, and it's not one that you're just going to copy and paste into your essay. It's one that you've learned and you know how to change for any situation. But because it's a high-level structure, it's going to get you points basically in the IELTS. So the thing is, natives and high-level students, we naturally produce advanced sentence structures, but lower level students can use sentence frames to really impress the examiner. So this is why we teach you them. It's not about copying sentences, it's about learning the structures that you can then adapt. So to give you an example, with the IELTS Grind, it's me, Phil, that does the website and all this sort of thing. Now, I just do it for fun. It's not my job. I'm a teacher. But I learnt how to code, like do internet code and things like that, by using the same technique. I find a structure or a function, in this case, that works, and I learn how to change the variables inside, the little bits of information that I need. So the same type of function, the structure, I can use it in many different ways. This is what we're talking about here. Okay, so let's jump in to show you some examples. Okay, so right, the first example. So kite surfing is in decline in Australia. This is because of recent shark attacks in New South Wales. Oh dear. So this is a sentence, but why have I selected it as a sentence frame? Well, it's really this. This sentence, or this part of the sentence, this is because of recent, or this is because of, or this is because. Okay? Now, this is a good sentence, and what we can do is take the structure and adapt it. But what is the structure? Well, this is what it is. So we start off, the first bit, basically it's the activity and the trend. Okay. Grammatically, it's using what's called a gerund. Yeah, kite surfing, the activity. But it's really just an activity and the trend in this case. And the second part is the cause. So what we can do is to take the structure and just change the activity and the trend and the relevant cause. Okay, so this is how we build it up. Okay, so in green we've got the activity and the trend. Stock market speculation is increasing. This is because of recent confidence in the market. So stock market speculation is increasing. That is the activity and the trend in our example, which follows on from what we saw about kite surfing. The cause is confidence in the market. Okay? So you can see that the structure doesn't change. The variables, the information changes. Okay? So some more examples of this. Crime in inner city areas is on the rise. This is because of recent cuts in law enforcement spending. So again, we've got the activity and the trend, and we've got the cause. The structure doesn't change, but the information does. Another example, exercising every day is more popular with teens. This is because of some very popular YouTube channels. So you notice that here, we don't have of recent. That's because this we can change as well. This is because of, and here is the cause, okay? But the structure doesn't change. That's the main thing, okay? So how about a more advanced example? So, despite being very popular, kite surfing is in decline in Australia. This is because of recent shark attacks in New South Wales. Okay, so here, the sentence frame is this, okay? Despite being, this is because of recent. This is really the frame, the structure that I want to keep. And then everything else is what I can change. So very popular, we can say that this is a fact. Kite surfing is in decline. This is the activity in the trend in our case. We may also be able to change the bit in blue here of recent, and then we've got our cause. So let's look at some examples. So there we've got the structure at the top, despite being plus fact plus activity plus trend. This is because of recent plus cause. Okay, so I can change little bits of this sentence frame to produce a high-level sentence for lots of different situations. Okay, so despite being extremely dangerous, big cat ownership is growing. This is because of recent changes in the law. So big cat, we're not talking about a domestic cat. Oh no, we're talking about tigers and lions and things like this. So you can see how I've used the same structure again, just changed the fact, changed the activity and trend, and changed the cause, okay? So when I say fact, activity and trend and cause, I'm not talking grammatically here. I'm just talking about content. So you can remember it in this way, and then you worry about the grammar in the exam. Some more examples. Despite leading to concussion, American football is still widely played. This is because it's a big part of high school culture in the States. So here, instead of using being, I'm using another gerund, an ing form, leading to. So I can even change this, but the structure is the same. And now concussion, this is a medical term. So if you hit your head, you can get concussion, which it's one of those things they say, if you hit your head, don't go to sleep because you may not wake up. This is concussion. There's a very famous film, I think with the actor Will Smith, and he plays a man from Nigeria, a scientist who is trying to stop people playing American football because a lot of them have this condition, which is detrimental. Okay, so you see how it works again. And one more example. Despite being an expensive hobby, 3D printers are flying off the shelves. This is because of recent improvements in non-commercial 3D printer design. Okay, so you can see how I've taken the same sentence frame and produced three very different sentences in terms of context and content, but the sentence doesn't change. The structure doesn't change. That's a sentence frame, okay? So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, okay? But we're going to look at this in a lot more detail, and the most important thing for today's lesson is you're going to learn how to identify and to produce your own sentence frames that you can then put into your essays. Okay, So one of the things that Michael and I dislike about other YouTube channels, and we won't mention which ones, a lot of people try to give you students hacks or shortcuts to the IELTS. There are no hacks. There are no shortcuts. The IELTS is testing your ability to speak English. If you cannot speak English, you cannot get a good grade. But sentence frames is perhaps the only legitimate hack. If I don't want to use that word, but it's a way that you can boost your score, even if you're not a high-level student, because you're using this high-level structure. The difference is you're not copying and pasting it, you're learning how to adapt it, how to take something that you've learnt and to change it for different situations. So if you're going to spend your time on this. Don't waste time on hacks and shortcuts. They really don't exist for the IELTS. Okay, so just some sentence frames to talk about in terms of task 2. Now you can find task 1 sentence frames if you jump into the channel and if you search for example pie charts. So you can look at this. So in this video, which we did a year ago, but Michael breaks down how to write about pie charts, and he goes through it, and we talk about sentence structure in this one. Okay, and basically you'll get sentence frames if you look at this for pie charts. So you can look at that, and I believe that even in this live stream I did last month, we spoke about that again. So if you want to, yeah, I got 2 for some reason. But if you want to learn about sentence frames for pie charts, I recommend this video that Michael did. Okay, but we're talking about task 2. So Rekha, you said some people are telling you not to brainstorm for essays. If you mean not planning your essay in the exam, I think that's terrible advice. I do not know how you can write an essay unless you're a native speaker without planning. Even a native speaker should plan an essay. I would say that's pretty bad advice. Unless probably they're saying, oh, this is the essay that's coming up in the exam. You do all your preparation before, and then when you get to the exam, you probably have a different question. But no, definitely brainstorming before, preparation before. This is what we're doing. We're preparing you for the exam. The reality of learning a language is you're going to learn a lot more when you actually go and live in an English-speaking country, or you use English in your job every day. But you've got to jump through this hoop. You've got to pass your IELTS exam, get the band score that you need for whatever your plans are. So this is what we're doing. But you will learn much more about English when you actually use it day to day. That was certainly my experience for learning French. Anyway, back to the lesson. So just some sentence frames or some phrases for the introduction you'll find useful. So, and we will see this actually in the corrections for the essays today. In your introduction, you really want to write 1 to 4 sentences. Normally 1 to 2 will cover it for most essay types. This on screen, in this essay, I will discuss both these views and give my own opinion. This is the thesis statement for a discussion essay. And we will see a discussion essay today. One of our students, Tunde, actually submitted one for us to correct live. And so this thesis statement, you can copy and paste this pretty much. The one thing you can change is views. You could say arguments, point of view, approaches, beliefs, lots of different options. But the structure is pretty much the same. Yeah. So this is a sentence frame to a certain extent. You can also say a discussion of both these views, in my own opinion, will be the subject of this essay. So the things in red, this is really the sentence frame. Everything in these curly brackets, you can change to a certain extent, but you can copy and paste these. Okay. In the following essay, I will explore the advantages and disadvantages of this situation. In the following essay, I will explore the problems and solutions of this situation, and so on. Or an exploration of the advantages and disadvantages of this situation will be found in this essay. So you can see how for your thesis, for different essay types, you can play around with the order, but the information is going to be pretty much the same, especially for discussion essays and for those essays with 2 tasks within them. When it comes to the opinion essay, you want to directly say your opinion. In my opinion, and whatever it is, to my mind, I totally agree or disagree with this statement, which that is fine as a thesis statement on its own. Or if you wanted, you could introduce the reasons. This is because, and then the main ideas, perhaps. Just remember, in your thesis statement for your opinion essay, you don't have to explain why you have the opinion, but you can, if you wish, introduce the main points that you'll discuss. Remember, the introduction is to tell the examiner what will happen in the essay. Okay? In the conclusion, here are some sentence frames you might want to use. So, in conclusion, basically, well, is it a sentence frame? But it's a phrase I would recommend you use every single time. Again, today we're going to see an example where one of the students tried to change this and they got it wrong. There's an expression in English: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Which means if something works effectively, why try and change it? You do not need to have to reinvent the wheel. Yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. The wheel works fine. In conclusion, it works perfectly. So why not just use it? Okay. Although both these views have their merits, I personally believe. So here, this is great for discussion essay, where you have to talk about 2 points of view. After you write in conclusion, you can say, although both these views have their merits, I personally believe, and then you put your opinion. Despite both these arguments being valid, to my mind, so it's almost the same thing. And the reason why we say both these views have their merits or both these arguments are valid is it's a nice way to write a balanced essay before you conclude with your own opinion. Another example, both of these points of view are very compelling, nevertheless, in my opinion. Okay. So you've got 3 different versions of this sentence frame here. Right, so totally. Is it informal? Not really, as a word on its own. It depends with the expression. You know, companies have totally exploited this. That wouldn't be informal. But if you said, you know, oh, this is a great film. Oh, totally. That's informal. So some words on their own can be informal. For example, kids is a good example. I never want to see you write kids in a task 2 essay. That's very informal. But words on their own don't necessarily always fall into one group of totally of informal or formal, but totally is an example where it depends on the context, I would say. Okay, so how to find sentence frames yourself. Okay, so I think this is the most important part of this lesson, because it's a skill that you can develop as you're studying. So the question we're looking at is, some people say that we need to use our resources to become an interplanetary species and set up permanent colonies on Mars or the Moon. Others say that we should be using our resources to fix the problems we have on Earth. Discuss both sides and give your own opinion at the end. Okay. So this is an essay, and if you look at the top of this screen, you can see it says submit an essay, corrections@theartsgrind.com. What this means, if you're joining us for the first time, is that if you send an essay to us at that email address, we will correct it for you free live. And you'll get some decent feedback, I think. The reason we started doing this is because I'm a member of quite a few IELTS Facebook groups, and I noticed that a lot of students ask for feedback from other students, which is not a terrible thing, but quite often people give a general band score, and yeah, quite often I disagreed, and a lot of the information was not very helpful, because knowing your band score does not help you improve your writing. So what we try and do is to really drill down and talk about issues that you can change, you can fix in order to improve. So if you're interested in that, you can send an email, and you could take this as an example. If you wanted to write about this question and send it to us, we could correct it for you and give you some feedback live. Anyway, so how to find sentence frames yourself. So we've got this long essay, and if you want to find this model essay, you can jump into the description here, and you'll find later on we've got the corrections, but I've given you this PowerPoint. Okay, so you should be able to click on this and get the PowerPoint that I'm using for your own reference later on. Okay, so I would read through this, and what I'm looking for are sentences that I think, ooh, that's a nice sentence, or that looks quite complex, or something like that. And so that's what I did. I looked through this and I selected some sentence frames. Okay, so these are some sentences that I think are good, high level, and I could use in different situations. They're not the only sentence frames in this piece, but I think these are some good ones to get working with. Okay, so let's break it down. So these are the sentence frames that I chose. So there has been a surge in interest in space in recent years, and a big driver pushing the people leading it is getting humanity to have more than one home. In contrast, there are many people who believe that these resources would be better used fixing the problems we have here at our current home. So the first sentence is from the introduction. And I chose it because you've got a 33% chance of having a discussion essay, because there are only really, there are three main groups of essays, let's say, but the third group, where you have to answer two tasks, to be fair, there's quite a few variations of that. So maybe not a 33% chance, but a good chance you'll get a discussion essay. And here the writer, and I believe Michael actually wrote this one, so the writer has introduced two opposing opinions or points of view. So getting a sentence frame which does this well is something that's useful. So that's why I chose it. Then we had the people who believe it is better to focus on our immediate problems say this because there are a number of looming problems we need to address. Those for the advancement of spaceflight have two answers to the above mentioned concerns. So this is a topic sentence from, if we go back, it's from the second paragraph of the body. So that's a good sentence frame to have to link the two opposing ideas. The proponents of spaceflight say that we can solve many of the world's problems sooner by pouring money into space-based R&D, research and development. These people point to the fact that if the huge amounts of money and brainpower used for spaceflight were put towards these problems, we would be a lot closer to, if not simply, solve many of them. Yeah, okay. And then without this space infrastructure, without this space infrastructure, we would have no way to deal with an asteroid like the one that took out the dinosaurs. Okay, so I thought these were some pretty good, these were some pretty good sentence frames, and I was confident we could adapt them. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so with the first one that I chose, you can see in red, this is the structure that I want to keep. Everything else is the information that we can change. Okay, so let's have a look at it. So this is the structure. There has been a surge in interest in plus noun in recent years, and a big drive pushing the people leading it is plus result, but using the ing verb. Okay, the reason why this is good is because we've got there has been a, so we're using present perfect. That's why we got in recent years. That's why we need this part, because of the present perfect. It's a nice sentence. And then the second part of this sentence frame, in contrast, there are many people who believe that plus argument. Okay, this is how we're breaking it down. Okay. So if I'm moving a little bit too fast, don't forget, as soon as this video goes up, it goes up on the YouTube channel as soon as we end. You can always come back and watch it again, slow it down, and YouTube automatically puts subtitles up. But if you've got any questions, anything that's not clear, then you can ask in the chat. But what I'm going to do is break it down now. Okay? So this is an example of how we could change this. There's been a surge in interest in AI technology in recent years, and a big driver pushing the people leading it is finding a way to solve our household cleaning needs. In contrast, there are many people who believe that robots will never be able to replace a good human cleaning service. Okay, so some of these are a little bit a bit of nonsense, really. But yeah, they're relevant, but I had a bit of fun with some of these. So some of the arguments are a bit ridiculous, but as long as we expand on them, have good supporting sentences, you can have ridiculous ideas. Remember that writing an IELTS essay is not about being interesting. It's about linking your ideas. Okay. So will we continue doing these live streams in August? Yes. We'll certainly be doing live streams. Whether or not it will be every day, that really depends on the schedule that Michael and I have. But we will do at least a couple a week. Yeah. So we're going to carry on doing this. As long as you guys find it useful, there's no reason to stop. Okay, so another example of this sentence frame. There has been a surge in interest in Bitcoin in recent years, and a big driver pushing the people leading it is making as much money as possible before the market crashes. In contrast, there are many people who believe that cryptocurrency is never a sound investment and the entire scheme is ludicrous. So you can see how I'm using this sentence frame to introduce, so this is my introduction, introducing two different arguments every time. This works really well for a discussion essay. So this is why I've chosen it as a sentence frame. So what you guys can do is, when you find a model answer, you can find these in the back of official IELTS materials. They sell books from Cambridge Press, or if you have a local tutor, if you attend a class and your tutor gives you an essay that they wrote as a native speaker, and you can be sure that it's good high-level English, you can take sentence frames. You can also find sentence frames when you're reading. If you're reading IELTS material, if you're reading Time magazine, National Geographic, any newspapers, you can find sentence frames there as well, and you can adapt them for your writing. Okay? So let's move on to the next one. So the people who believe it is better to focus on our immediate problems say this because there are a number of looming problems we need to address. So this is how I break down this sentence frame. So the people who believe it is better to plus argument plus say this because plus reason. So that's the sentence frame here. So some examples. The people who believe it is better to invest money in the prevention of diseases say this because a lot more money is spent on curing illnesses than would be on eradicating them. Okay, so a lot more money is, or possibly I could say that, depends. I think I might improve that actually. Rather than the fact, would be. This would be a better example. Yeah. So, a lot more would be spent. So the reason I've changed it now to would be is because after reading it a second time, I realized that what we're talking about is possibility rather than fact. So that would make a lot more sense now. The people who believe it is better to study vocational subjects at school say this because many graduates enter the workplace with few practical skills and even fewer job prospects. And a third example. The people who believe it is better to have limited government influence in our lives say this because they are suspicious of the intentions of these institutions. So hopefully you're seeing that the structure doesn't change. What changes is the variable, okay? And the reason why this only works with students that study is because it's not a copy and pasting, okay? What you're doing is learning, okay, what I do is I write this phrase, then I've got to include my argument, then I've got to say this is because, and then I've got to give a reason. Sorry about that, I had a bit of buzzing in the background, so I had to turn off a fan. Okay, so yeah, what you're doing here is learning how the structure works, but the actual the variables that you put in, you still need to learn how to write these sentences. But it's the presentation of the structure. this is what's going to get you the highest score. Okay. So if you hang around, the corrections are coming at the end. Okay. So just stick around and I'll be getting to them fairly soon. Right. So, those for the advancement of spaceflight have 2 answers to the above mentioned concerns. Okay. Yeah. So, when it comes to correcting the essays, we can only correct things that we have in advance. Okay. So if you've just submitted something today, it's not really reasonable to ask me to vet it right now, is it? But we will do it. Don't forget, this is a free service. So anyway, this sentence frame, those 4 plus argument plus have 2 answers to the above mentioned concerns. Okay, so here, this is great as a topic sentence. If we go back and we see where this sentence was, okay, so what Michael did here, right, is he had his first argument, so why people would think this reason in the body paragraph 2, and then he's going to introduce the second point of view and reasons why people think that. And the sentence we're looking at is the one that links this sentence, this paragraph, and is the topic sentence for this paragraph. This is a really good sentence frame to steal, okay? Which is why I selected it. So if I go back and we'll look at the examples, okay? Okay, so those for the advancement of spaceflight have 2 answers to the above mentioned concerns. This is what I would change. Those for the prohibition of cigarettes have 2 answers to the above mentioned concerns. Okay, so of course you would want to change this. If you were only going to introduce one main answer, you would say those for the prohibition of cigarettes have one main answer to the above mentioned concern or concerns. Okay, so this part does have to reflect what you've said before. If you've introduced more than one reason, that's fine. If you only introduce one reason, then you would only say concern. Okay, just be aware of that. Those for giving more responsibility to the individuals have 2 answers to the above mentioned concerns. Those for spending more tax dollars on prevention rather than treatment have 2 answers to the above mentioned concerns. Okay, so this is a great topic sentence for discussion essays if you structure it in the right way. Okay, and then we had this one. Okay, the proponents of spaceflight say that we can solve many of the world's problems sooner by pouring money into space-based R&D. So this breaks down to this: the proponents of, and we could change this word instead of we can have for, but the proponents of argument say that we can solve many of the world's problems sooner by plus solution. So the bit in blue, again, we can adapt this if we want. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean. So some examples. The proponents of universal basic income say that we can solve many of the world's economic problems sooner by giving every citizen enough money to exist on. The proponents for cutting art from the school syllabus say that we can solve many of the nation's employment problems by providing students with the marketable skills for their future job search. And another example, the proponents of prohibition say that we can solve many of the world's alcohol-related illnesses by banning this harmful substance. So you can see, again, with all these sentence frames, the general structure doesn't change, but the elements can be adapted for the situation. Okay, so for example, I might add in a word here: economic problem, nation's employment, world's alcohol-related illnesses, for example, and also proponents of something or proponents for an activity. So you can change this as well. It's all based on grammar, but it's the structure that we're interested in. I want you to take that bit of information away. The sentence frames are structuring ideas, yeah, and structuring it in a high level way. Okay, so we have some more. So here, these people point to the fact that if the huge amount of money and brain power used for spaceflight were put towards these problems, we would be a lot closer to, if not simply solve many of them. So the sentence frame is this: these people point to the fact that if plus condition plus subject plus would plus cause, we're actually using second conditional here. Okay, and if you can't remember the second conditional, it's if plus past tense. If the huge amounts of money and brain power used for spaceflight were put towards, and then we have in our conditional part of the sentence what would happen, we have would. Okay, so the examples I've got for you are: these people point to the fact that if the government spent more money on research and development, cancer would probably be cured within the next decade. These people point to the fact that if students focused more on subjects such as art and music, they would find their future job prospects severely limited. And these people point to the fact that if citizens didn't exercise their right to vote, the nation would never be governed by a party which truly represented the people. Okay, so you can see with all the examples, I'm using the second conditional where I have the condition, in using past tense, and then the second part of the sentence uses would. Okay, it's just using the second conditional in the sentence frame, and this is a good thing because second conditional is considered high level vocabulary, high level grammar, I should say, a high level grammatical structure. Okay, and just a few more. I think this is the last one. So without this space infrastructure, we would have no way to deal with an asteroid like the one that took out the dinosaurs. This sentence frame becomes I didn't actually change anything here, did I? So without this, let's change this now. So without this, we would say plus noun, plus we would have no way to deal with. It's basically plus noun. Okay, how's that? A little bit better. Okay, this is basically the situation here. Yeah, these are noun phrases, noun clauses we can say to. But this is the example. Without this change in attitude, we would have no way to deal with the growing resentment of government policies. Without this advancement, we would have no way to deal with the limitation of traditional building materials. Without this controversial move, we would have no way to put an end to the injustice faced by thousands globally. So here, what you can do is change the verb here. So we have deal with, put an end to. Okay. So those are the examples of sentence frames. So hopefully you guys understand what we're saying here. We're saying that you can go to a model essay like this, which has been written by, for a high level score. It's been written by a native speaker in this case, and you go through and go, hey, I like those sentences. Then you take the sentences and you learn how are they constructed. Then when you learn how they're constructed, you can learn how to change them. If you do this, it is the only hack that we know that actually does help you get a score, because you're using good structures without having to know them by heart. You're just learning how to adapt them. And the reason I chose the ones that I did today is because I know that I'm going to have to use them. This sentence is great for introductions, for discussion essays. So whenever I have a discussion essay, I can use this structure. This one's a great one for introducing the first group of people. It's a sentence that is used as a topic sentence, as is this one. So these are the kinds of things that I'm trying to pick out. Sentence types that I know I'm always going to have to use. If you learn those sentence frames, it's going to really help you with your structure. Okay, how are we doing in chat? Are there any questions about what we just spoke about? Everyone still happy with that? Okay, so let's jump to this one. Okay, so let's look at. I've got 2 essays to correct. I'll jump because Maria was here first, so we'll jump to this one, and I'll just zoom in a little bit. Hopefully everyone can see. Okay. So the essay today, in their advertising, businesses nowadays usually emphasize that their products are new in some way. Why is this? Do you think it is a positive or negative development? Okay, so this is the essay that so Van Dran, Maria I think is the English name that she likes to use. This is the essay that she submitted. So the first thing, we want to think, what is the main topic? So the main topic is to do with businesses and products being new. Okay. And then the task, why is this? This is one thing that we have to do. And do you think it's a positive or negative thing? It's the second thing we have to do. So why is this? Causes. Do you think that it is a positive or negative development? Opinion. Okay. So, is it still not? Do I still need to zoom in a little bit? Might not be able to see everything on the page, but how's this? I'm at 200%. Is this a little bit better? Okay. Don't forget, if you want to follow along, you can jump into the description of this video and you click on 2-part essay. This should be the one we're looking at now. Okay. Right. So what I'll do is I'll read it out once. Then I'm going to analyze this based on the 4 marking criteria. Again, if you come to our video, the video we're looking at, the description, and you click on writing task 2, you get this. So this is the writing band descriptor. This tells you how to get the score that you want. Okay, so I'm going to analyze this based on the 4 marking criteria. So first of all, let's read it. So it says, these days many business companies usually try to persuade customers that their products are different and exotic in advertising. From my point of view, I totally believe that this measure is positive, as it also has a myriad of numerous outstanding advantages and dramatically benefits the company's evolution. Okay. So just be aware, guys, that they are doing building work in my building, so it becomes very noisy in a second. I will apologize, and we'll see if we can carry on. It's okay for now, but let's see what happens. Okay, on the top of my head, due to the shift of the world, people's demands about choosing products have changed in many ways, they perceive that the more outdated products are, the more reliable they can rely on. Then many entrepreneurs have caught this trend and decided to cater customers' requires, so that businesses frequently advertise their merchandises as completely new and different from others. For example, if businesses do not advertise their goods as the updated brands, citizens will probably ignore because they do not pay attention to these ones. Hence, the most appropriate way is advertising based on buyers' demands. That is the reason why business emphasize their products as the newest these days. Onto the second paragraph of the body. For a wide range of relevant reasons above, I completely assume that this method would work successfully and have positive impacts. Firstly, supplying buyers with what they adore will bring to them great satisfaction, since their life is equipped with modern and useful gadget, food, ... As a result, their life quality would be enhanced significantly thanks to these devices, and this will lead to a better and cutting-edge society. In addition, these measure not only gratifies buyers, but also brings to the business with major profits, because they have succeeded in supplying people. In contrast, if they do not apply this method, they will make a major failure to their company, since they are contributing unsuitable and advertised products to their clients. And in conclusion, there will be a wide range of benefits if business try to introduce that their merchandises are updated in advertising to customers. From my perspective, this way would positively affect not only the buyers and this society, but also business companies, and this measure is worth applying in advertising. Okay, so that is the essay, and thanks very much, Maria, for submitting that. But let's go through and talk about what was good and what could be improved. So what we need to do is consider the question, and the first thing is task response. Okay, so in their advertising, businesses nowadays usually emphasize that their products are new in some ways. Why is this? Do you think it's a positive or negative development? Okay, so one tip that's going to help you guys write a better essay is to imagine the examiner cannot see the question. Okay, the examiner does not know what the question is, and this is the job of your introduction. In your introduction, you need to introduce the context of the question, and you need to introduce your thesis, what the essay is about. Okay, and the reason I say that is because, now I'm just going to zoom out to give the full what do I want to do? Zoom out. Let me give you the full effect, okay? So we don't need to read in detail here. So basically, the thesis here is, from my point of view, I totally believe that this measure is positive, as it is also has a myriad of numerous outstanding advantages and dramatically benefits the company's evolution. Okay, so that is the thesis of this essay. So everything in this essay should prove this true, or should relate back to this. Okay, now if we look, paragraph 2 of the body, so for a wide range of relevant reasons above, I completely assume that this method would work successfully and have positive impacts. This relates to the thesis, as does everything in this paragraph. In the conclusion, there will be a wide range of benefits. From my perspective, this also links back to what has been said in the paragraph, in the thesis here. Okay, but if we go back and have a look at body paragraph 2, on the top of my head, due to the shift of the world, people's demands about choosing products have changed in many ways. This topic sentence, although everything in this paragraph does link to this topic sentence, there's no reference to this in the thesis. It refers back to the question, why is this? But unfortunately, the examiner cannot see the question. So, half of the essay, if I get rid of that, it makes absolutely no difference to this essay, because that paragraph is not referred to in the thesis. Okay. Oh. So I'm being a little bit dramatic, but I hope that you learn that lesson, okay? Because this thesis does not match this essay type. What we want to do is actually go back, all the way back to my sentence frames. Okay? What I want to do is steal one of these sentence frames, okay? And the one I'm going to steal is actually this one, okay? I'm going to go back and I'm going to write this. Okay. So this is what we want to do. Now, in the chat, for you guys watching, what we're going to do is we're going to improve this thesis, because the thesis does not match the essay. So if I had written this essay, when I did my proofreading, I would simply cross this out, which I can do in the written exam, or I would delete it in the computer-based exam. I would write another thesis, and that would be perfectly fine. So can we change the thesis based on my sentence frame so that it includes this paragraph? Just remember that the sentence frame is there, the thesis is there to tell the examiner what will happen in the in this essay, okay? Based on the original thesis, what will happen is we're going to talk about my opinion. But that's not what the essay is about. The essay is to talk about the causes and talk about your opinion. Okay? So, at the moment, my sentence frame says, in the following essay, I will explore the advantages and disadvantages of this situation. So obviously we're not talking about advantages and disadvantages, okay? But what we are doing is talking about a two-part question. So what's the first part? What's the first thing we're going to explore? I will explore so it's not advantages. What is the first part? Who's brave enough to give me a thesis here? to help us correct this essay. So there's a bit of a delay probably between what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. I will explore the causes and so it's not disadvantages. So we could say causes, reasons. Yeah, all of this would work. What about to introduce the second task? Now, if we put benefits, so here, do you think it's a positive or negative development? It's not the same as benefits, because it's not asking us to talk about the benefits. It says very clearly, do you think? So it's an opinion. So we would just have to say, and my opinion. Okay. So the only issue we have is it says opinion of. So I might just change causes of an opinion about this situation. Okay. So by replacing your thesis statement there with this one, which many of you might think, oh, it's very basic. But what we've done is we've taken the score from what would be a band 5 simply because half of your essay does not match up to your thesis, and it would be at least a 6, if not a 7. So here, task response is your structure and whether or not the information is developed, if it links back to your structure. Okay. So that is literally one sentence that could be the difference between an entire band score, at least. Does that make sense? So really think about and learn the types of thesis that you need. And literally, if you go to our channel and go search and task 2, we have so many videos about task 2, and if you look, a lot of them are talking about the structure. Okay, so what I would recommend is, for example, we've got dedicated cause and effect, we talk about opinion essays. You can go through. Some of these videos are about a particular essay structure. You'll also find some videos talk about, like this one, overall. So this is a good one. We do an entire series about discussion essays, how to get a band 9. Okay, so anything you need to learn about the structure is here. Yeah, so as I said, I think at the moment this would be a range of 5 to 6, closer to 5. It's not as low as a 4 because you do develop your argument. But if you change this sentence, it would be at least a 6, possibly even 6 to 7. It is literally the difference between a band score for task response. And it's a question of structure. Okay, so moving on, coherence and cohesion, pretty good. In terms of, if we go through, the introduction is good because what you say in the first sentence and your thesis, they do match up. But the problem, as we said, is the thesis does not match the essay type. But the coherence and cohesion here is good, as is most of what's in paragraph 2 of the body, and your conclusion. But let's look at some problem areas. So in body paragraph 1, you talk about, so it says, so people's demands, they perceive that the more outdated products are, the more reliable they can rely on. So you're saying, based on this, that outdated products or older products are more reliable, and people like that because they can rely on them. And then you've said that many entrepreneurs have caught this trend and decided to cater customers' requires, so that businesses frequently advertise their merchandises as completely new. This is illogical. It doesn't make sense. In the first sentence you've said people like old products, and in the second sentence you've said companies advertise their products as being new. So this is not coherent. It doesn't make sense. So make sure when you read your essays, you should spend 3 to 4 minutes proofreading your essays. You should have enough time to do that. Just make sure, okay, does it make sense? Is it saying the same thing? So that is just one thing to be aware of. The other thing I would say here, your last sentences, and it's true in both cases. So here, hence, the more appropriate way is to advertise based on buyer's demand. That is the reason why businesses emphasize the products as the newest these days. Here, it doesn't add anything. You're saying exactly the same thing. It's not a great summary. If that's meant to be a summary sentence of this paragraph, it's not really adding anything. So either you want to introduce another reason or additional information. It's not really effective. And the same thing kind of happened here as well. So that's the major issue here. So overall, 6 to 7, probably closer to 6 than to 7. In terms of lexical resource, there's some good stuff in here, but just some things to be aware of. There's a lot of kind of what I would say doubling up, repeating the same word but using synonyms of the same word. And a good example of this is many business companies. I would either say many businesses or many companies. They mean the same thing basically. It doesn't really, so it's one or the other. So their products are different and exotic in advertising. So I would say they try to persuade customers that their products are different and exotic. I would say through. Oh, not through. So I don't want that to be read. Through advertising rather than in advertising. So it's not in the advert that we're talking about. It's through advertising. This is the right word. And we have the same issue here. A myriad of numerous outstanding advantages. A myriad means the same as numerous. So it's not. You don't need to have both. Myriad would be the better choice. Yeah. This expression, on the top of my head, you would say off the top of my head. So that is the expression. But why should we not actually use that expression? Can anyone suggest why off the top of my head is not a good phrase to use for task 2? That's right. And Trompato, I didn't see what you wrote before, but yes, that's a good sentence. That was a good thesis, yeah. Yeah, it's So as you guys said, it's informal. Off the top of my head, great for your speaking, not great for your writing. And what you could say instead of this is perhaps, the first thing that comes to mind. That would be better. Or even using sequencing language, firstly, to begin with, or regarding why this happened, or regarding the causes. But yeah. And then this phrase, due to the shift of the world. I get what you mean, but it could be phrased differently. Possibly due to the recent shifts in the business world. Okay, so that's a lot better now. This would be better. Due to the recent shifts in the business world. Yeah. Okay. So obviously, just watch out for your punctuation. We only want one comma here. So this sentence. Then many entrepreneurs have caught this trend. I would say caught onto this trend would be better, and decided to cater to. You cater to customers, and it says requires. It should be requirements. This would be better. Okay. So that businesses frequently advertise their merchandise. Yeah. So here, for example, if businesses did not advertise their goods as the updated brands, citizens. Can I write first and foremost for off the top of my head? Yes, that would be excellent. That would be good, yeah. Back to this word citizens. It's not terribly wrong, but it's not exactly the word we want. We're not talking about citizens necessarily. We're talking about customers. Okay, this would be a better phrase because we're talking about businesses. Okay, which brings me to buyers. So the reason why I've got buyers highlighted is you can see we have buyers several times. And a buyer is not really a great term for customer. A buyer, strictly speaking, is when you're in a clothing business, the job of buyer would be somebody who makes deals between suppliers and a shop. They buy clothes in quantity. So it's not exactly the right word. You could use it once maybe, but you've overused it a little bit here. And the fact that it's not the best word also is a bit of an issue. So just be aware of that. Okay. So here, for a wide range of relevant reasons above. So what we would change this for a wide range of the relevant reasons. So it's really missing this. Okay. I completely assume that this method would work successfully and have positive impacts. I wouldn't use the word assume. Okay, the best thing to do when you're giving an opinion is to say I completely believe, or I think, or in my opinion. Use that type of language because it's much clearer. Be very direct. If you're required to if you're required to give an opinion, make it very, very clear to the examiner that is your opinion. Okay, so words like believe, think are much better than assume. To assume something is when you aren't sure it's true. It's an assumption, which is not the same as an opinion. Okay. And I completely believe that this method would work successfully. I would just change this to, we want to be direct. This method works. Oh no, works. Be very direct with what you're saying. Okay. And then we get to this part. Their life is equipped with modern and useful gadgets, food, and ... This is not great. It would be better to say etc. or and so on. At least use this phrase. ... is not going to help you. So Yin says, I'm convinced. Yeah, I'm completely convinced that this method works. That would also work. It's just when you're using words like think and believe, it's much clearer. They only have one reason, right? One meaning. So you want to be as clear as you can when it's required in the exam. If you're required to give an opinion, make sure your opinion is very clear. That's going to help you. Okay. What else? Okay, so we've mentioned buyers already, and here it says, in addition, this measure not only gratifies buyers but also brings to the business with major profits. Here I don't think you need this word. This brings, and we don't need this word, brings the business major profits. This is the phrase. Yeah. And here, so in conclusion, there will be a wide range of benefits if businesses, so plural, try to introduce their merchandise, singular, and then it should be are. So if businesses are updated, yeah. So if business tries to introduce that there, I would even say have been, but this is a grammar thing. But that would be better. Present perfect, because we're talking about a past action and present thing. Okay, so overall, I think your lexical resource range 5 to 6, definitely closer to a 6 than a 5. Just a few little changes would push it up. And finally, in terms of grammar, I think you did very well in grammar actually. And you can see there's a lot of really good sentences throughout. Some really good high-level structures. So your thesis was actually very well written actually, although it's not the right thesis to use. You've got some great sentences throughout. Okay. In terms of grammar, there's only a few little things. You're struggling with this, so just having the apostrophe is not the same as having apostrophe s. This is called the local genitive, possessive s. The only reason you wouldn't have the s on if it's when you already have a plural. So I can't think of an example right now, but for example here, customers requirement. So you can, if you want, have apostrophe there. Some people write it this way, but actually I tend to agree with doing like this, customers requirements. Okay, you can write it that way. There's a bit of a debate, but that is acceptable for most people as well. Customers requirements. Okay, and you can see that the spell check doesn't worry about that. Okay, but this is the major issue I've seen here. Learn how to use the apostrophe s, and we've got this first supplying buyers with what they adore will bring them, bring to them, bring them, but generally pretty good. So that's why I think you're probably at 6 to 7, band 7. Okay, so well done. Thank you very much for submitting that. But let's move on, and we're going to have a look at another one. So this is from Tunde. I think that's your first name. So this is the one that you submitted a while ago, and you know, basically I sit down here. It takes me a couple of hours actually to sit through, read, do some notes. It's not a 5-minute thing. So if you've submitted anything today, we'll look at that another time. Okay. So studies have shown that intelligence has a direct correlation with financial success. As a result, some people believe that the IQ tests are appropriate for job interviews, whereas others disagree. Discuss both the sides and give your own opinion. Okay. So let's jump into task response. And again, I'm just going to zoom out so we can see this. Okay. So basically, we've got a similar issue to what we just had with the previous essay. Okay, so you can see if I actually zoom in, let's just read the introduction together. Okay, because it's such a shame actually, because this is a very well written essay. It's just got one tiny mistake that's really brought the score down. There are divergent views about being intelligent has a direct bearing on thriving financially, while some persons feel that problem-solving tests in recruitment processes are the best method of selecting the most suitable candidates for employment. Others do not believe in it. As long as employers want to employ the best applicants for job, intelligence test is the best option for selection. Okay, so this is the thesis for this essay. Now, if we look at it globally, okay, here, this paragraph, so yeah, Marie, can I submit writing class 1? You could submit as many essays as you want to corrections@IELTSGrind.com. As long as we do it on the live stream, it's absolutely free. And to be honest, we expected more people to do this, and we get very few people sending us essays. So we're very happy to correct anything you want, because at some point this will become a paid service. So if you want free advice, you do it now. So yeah, send us as much as you want, and we will do it when we have time to do it on the live streams. Very happy to do that. Yeah. Yes. So this is an essay that you wrote, I believe, Tunde. Yeah, I think this is the one you wrote. Yeah. Okay. So the issue here, the paragraph 1 is talking about one viewpoint, which is some people believe that IQ tests are appropriate for job interviews. It does it very well. The second paragraph, for the most part, is talking about others disagree that this is a good idea. And for the most part, it's done very well. And in the conclusion, in my own perspective, it talks about the opinion of the writer. Okay? So the essay has all of the elements it needs for this type of essay. But if we zoom back in, the thesis is, as long as employers want to employ the best applicant for job, intelligence test is the best option for selection. The only part of the essay that talks about that is this last sentence. Okay? And as I said before, imagine the examiner cannot see the question. If they cannot see the question, this is the only information they have. And because of this thesis statement, most of your essay is irrelevant and does not actually add to anything. So this is why I would say for task response you'd get a 4 to 5. It wouldn't be a 4. I don't think it will be as low as a 4 because it does develop. But it's a 5 because your thesis is not correct. Okay, so we're going to jump back to the sentence frames. Okay, and if I go and put this sentence frame in, literally a copy and paste, okay, in this essay I will discuss both these views and give my own opinion. This is now probably a band 7. Okay, so it's showing you guys that the correct structure is important, and the reason why this is getting a low score, even though I think this is an excellent essay, is because most of the body paragraphs don't match up to the thesis. If you simply say, I'm going to talk about both views and give my opinion, and then you do that as the writer did in this essay, it makes a lot of sense. The ideas are developed and you get a higher score for task response. So we've seen today that that one sentence, the thesis statement here, is incredibly important. Okay, right. And the other thing I would say here is here it says in order to solve a problem rapidly, so this is about the opinion, yeah. Oh, this is why. So it says these points are valid reasons for me to maintain my position in favor of intelligent exams. So basically, in this type of essay, we don't need to know what you think until the conclusion. For a discussion essay, the body paragraph 1 should be about what other people think. Body paragraph 2 should be about what other people think and the reasons they think that. The conclusion is the only point you say what you think when it's this type of essay. Okay, so that is also taking away from your score. Okay. Right, so in terms of coherence and cohesion, excellent. Really, really good. Really, really good. Very well written. It's I think it's a 7 to 8. The reason it's not higher is if we look in coherence and cohesion, okay, so it is logically organized. You do use some cohesive devices and it's clear. It's just a little bit more paraphrasing would be better, and just the way that you're using some of the sequencing language, it's just not quite band score 8. So for you, I would say look at a lot more model answers, and this will help push up this score. But in terms of the way you've laid everything out, it's very well done. So guys, you can look at this and look at the way that that they've written this. Lexical resource, again, pretty good. So just a few things. There are divergent views about being intelligent has a direct bearing on thriving financially. So here the missing word is whether, if I can spell it. Whether being intelligent has a direct bearing on thriving financially. And you might even say or not. Not necessary, but you could do that. Okay. Here, as long as employers wants, so as long as employers want. So just watch out for things like this. someone who is passionate about the job will go extra length to. So the expression is will go the extra, or will go the extra mile. This is the expression. We'll go the extra mile to get results. Yeah. Go above and beyond. Yeah. So this statement is really good. Only work within the stipulated daily work duration. I would change duration to day or hours, work day would be better. Whereas a passionate individual can work beyond official work hours and at extra odd hours, I would change at to during extra, I wouldn't say odd hours. You might say during extra unsociable. Maybe why is it done that? Yeah, like that. Okay, so unsociable hours, perhaps. It depends if you want to say overtime. You might even just say during overtime would work. To put in more effort to achieve results. Nevertheless, those that support rather than supports the idea of intelligence tests believe that the most intelligent candidate. Yeah. Before a company can beat its ITS contenders, it has to employ the technically best candidates. The technically best candidates. It doesn't seem right to me for some reason. Yeah. Yeah. So, Dali, is that your essay? Yes. As far as I know, it's your essay. If you don't recognise it, then just check your emails. But this is what I assume. I'm pretty sure this came through on your email. If not, it's someone's essay, and they did a very good job. So you can take credit for it if you want. Okay. So it has to employ the technically best candidates. It seems I would phrase it differently. Let me think about it. I would say it has to employ, perhaps like this, who are considered technically the best candidate. Okay, I think this makes more sense now. Who are considered technically the best. Yeah, I like it better. So firms like Cadbury's should be capitalized. In order, it's got a space. Here it says my position in favor of intelligent exams. Intelligent exams makes it sound like the exam is intelligent. So you would either say intelligence or IQ. IQ exams, okay? Viable means to employing the most suitable candidates. As a candidates, we don't want a capital. Yeah, so it means it should be probably 4. Of or 4, yeah. Okay, so conclusively, again, I'm going to dip back into my sentence frames from before, and conclusion, because conclusively does not mean the same as in conclusion. So that's why in conclusion is, you should always use in conclusion. There can never be a mistake with in conclusion. It might seem basic, but it does the job, and that's the main thing. Okay. And the only other thing is this school of thoughts. I would change. It is not enough reason for me to be among this school of thought. And obviously everything in green is really good. So I think this is bands 7 to 8, closer to 7 than to 8. And finally we've got grammatical range and accuracy. I corrected a lot of this, I think, just now. Yeah, a lot of it did. So here obviously it's want and not wants. So here just watch out. Intelligent may have no role to play in job performance is the right phrase. Here it should be the most brilliant and intelligent candidates through a series of initiative usage tests in order to ensure the best candidates. Okay, and in my own perspective, intelligence tests is I would say intelligence tests are. Okay, so you've got some great high-level sentences here and structures. The main issue, watch out for using the third person when it's not he, she, or it. Watch out for prepositions. Watch out for articles. But overall, I think this is again band 7 to 8. So the biggest issue in this essay was this one sentence which dragged the entire score down. This would probably have been a band 7 essay. Yeah, I think I would have given this band 7 around that mark if you just changed that one sentence, which is crazy, right? Okay, so I wanted to probably rushed through that a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that those 2 students got their corrections today. And if you're interested in getting us to correct your essay live, then send an email to corrections@theartsgrind.com. You can find that information at the top of the screen, but it should also be here, which is not. Never mind, I can put that in later. But it's you'll find it here, corrections@theartsgrind.com. You submit an essay and we will do exactly what we've done for those 2 students, okay? And that is much more useful, I think, than getting other students to give you a random band score, because now you can go and you can change those things and increase your score by doing those things. Okay, so thanks very much, guys, for joining me today. Don't forget that tomorrow I'll be back doing mock speaking exams, and I'll probably do it via Zoom or by Google Meet. But for those of you that can't do that, you can click on Discord on this page, theartsgrind.com, and you can come to Discord here, and we can even try to do a speaking exam through Discord. Okay, so we will find a way of doing as many mock speaking exams tomorrow as I can. Last week I think I did like 2.5 hours. It was intense, but I think a lot of people had a go, and that's excellent. So you can find all of our videos coming up. So if you have enjoyed the video, if you found it useful, don't forget, give us a like. If you're not subscribed, then you can subscribe if you want to. You'll find out about our videos, and that means that coming up we've got should be coming up tomorrow. Michael, yeah, I'm doing the mock exam, and Michael is doing a speaking exam. Okay, so thanks very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.